Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Michelle, Nicolle.
Hey.
So we finally made it here after a long road. So just, welcoming everybody and to our first official podcast for Baruch Undergraduate Admissions. Bernie, for your thoughts. A lot of thought went into this and, advocacy and the support from staff, the department, the division. It was really funny that when we were looking at this information, we did not know a lot about Bernard Baruch, the person that was named after for the college. So, Bernard Baruch was a very big advocate, an iconic advocate for education. He was a statesman. He was actually known as the park bench statesman, because he liked to take a lot of his meetings from the representatives and the presidents. He was a broker and a financier, so a fancy word for a Wall Street guy, right? Because who knows that now in age? And being so iconic, the college went from the City College of New York to Bernard and Baruch College in 1953. So that was almost 70 years ago, if you think about it. But the amazing thing is his legacy still lives on, and a lot of the things that we follow are a lot of the things that he was advocating for in education. So, very big perks, especially in CUNY. So, this is our preseason episode. And, just trying to get this podcast out to not only our prospective students, but also families and even current students, just to cover a lot of topics that, students want to know and families want to know, and trying to be as real as possible. I think that was one of the ideas that we thought about when launching this podcast, and just trying to make sure we're covering everybody's experiences. And as our preseason episode, that's what today's about, our road to Baruch. So just how different journeys can land you at Baruch, and the experiences that you can have on an individual basis, because just because you come to a college doesn't mean that every single experience is the same. So as my co-hosts on this venture, thank you for this. And I want to start off with you guys telling us about yourselves and what made you come to Baruch.
Did you want to go first?
Sure. I am a current enrolled student here at Baruch. I'm a sophomore. I transferred here last semester. My name's Nicolle, even though we mentioned it, but my name's Nicolle. I am part of social media team, as well as a Baruch College admissions ambassador. And I guess the long story of why I came here to Baruch was because of the major, which is digital marketing. And
where did you transfer from?
I transferred from QCC, so Queensborough Community College.
Okay.
So it's another CUNY as well.
Did you have that as an original major at QCC, or did you intend to do something before that, before the digital marketing?
Well, applications are all through your junior year. So back then I was set in doing biology, and I was going to go to Stony Brook for that. The end of my senior year, I did do an internship, which got me involved in digital marketing and social media. So I changed my whole career path senior year, which to me was so stressful because senior year I already had to commit to a school. I already had to have everything ready. And so I had to turn down Stony Brook. I couldn't accept Baruch because they did accept me in the beginning, but I was set to do biology. And so I had to sort of restart the whole process, do the whole acceptance, apply. And I didn't want to be in a limbo of losing a whole semester. So I went to QCC and finished a semester in business there. And then I just came here to Baruch and had a lot of my courses just transfer over. So I didn't lose that semester.
It's interesting that you actually decided on switching your majors before even getting to college, because a lot of students will change their majors once they're already here. But, that's interesting. I've never had heard that, when you're still in high school, because you think junior, senior year, it's oh, you're in college. No, you decided that in high school. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was set into 3 things. I was all over the place my senior year. I was I want to do marketing, social media, I want to have my own restaurant, which was just on the other side of the spectrum.
But that's not hard.
Yeah.
I want to have my own bakery when I grow up. I feel like I still haven't grown up, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen in the future, but right now I'm focusing on social media since it's something I like. And it's not like I hate the other things, that's why I chose digital marketing, but it's just, I feel like I'll focus on this for now.
Okay. Michelle.
Yes. Hi, my name is Michelle. I am a Baruch alumna, class of 2022. And now, since graduating, it's about to be a year since I graduated, I'm now a staff member for the college. So very excited to not only co-host the podcast, but be the first guest. So a little bit about how I ended up at Baruch. When I was a senior in high school, I did a virtual enterprise program. So I ran a simulated business alongside my senior class. And I knew right then and there that I wanted to turn that virtual reality into something tangible. So I applied to Baruch and thankfully was admitted through the SEEK program, which for those who don't know is an HEOP. It's a higher education opportunity program. So one of the requirements of SEEK is to do a 6-week boot camp the summer before your fall semester. So I was here July of 2017 and I haven't left. And so that is how I ended up at Baruch. And I guess I'll talk a little bit about my experience since I graduated. I started off doing business. I was an intended business major, wanted to do HR management. And then after taking my first accounting class, I quickly realized that maybe this isn't the route for me. Because I think that's one of the first lessons that I learned really early on at Baruch was that not everything is set in stone. And also it's just as important to know what you don't like as it is important to know what you do like. And so here I am doing really well in all my communications courses, my English courses, and then doing so awful in economics, accounting, all the other business courses. And so I was like, this is not the right fit for me. And then in addition to some of my experiences outside of the classroom, so I was a peer mentor for the SEEK program, I was a tour guide for the college, and I was really involved in club life. It made me realize that I could still have an impact on my community, even if it meant I didn't have to go the corporate route. So my junior year, I did it. I switched my major, I did corporate comm, and just as I was getting ready to start a new major, the pandemic happened. So that was unique to say the least. So here I am ready to start a new major and now having to navigate college and life in the middle of a pandemic.
And weren't you just starting an internship as well?
I was, yeah. And so that ended up being cut short because of the pandemic. So it was a whirlwind of emotions, but I got through it nonetheless. I think like all of us did during global lockdown. But thankfully my last semester though at Baruch was in a hybrid fashion. So I had one class that met in person and the other two that met fully online. And since graduating, I ended up finding something that I really liked. I ended up finding purpose in what I do. So yeah, that's how I ended up at Baruch.
And before getting to this hot topic of the global pandemic, I think that's the beauty of college, that it's your time to explore before actually going into the real world and being an adult.
Yeah.
Again, I put adult in quotations because I feel like we always are learning and you're always, growing up. But the beauty of college is before you take on those responsibilities, you're able to change and explore and see what is your best fit.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to take advantage of. So kudos to both of you, especially, really early on, and you still have time if you want to.
Oh yeah.
But good for you that you're doing something that you like. And that's the biggest thing, like while we're all in this age where the corporate world is shown to us to be successful, but there are other areas that we could be successful. And I feel like once you're passionate about what you do, if there's always that saying, when you do what you love, you are never working a day in your life. So I think that comes along with, a lot of things that we do in our day-to-day, and especially with our roles. But in terms of the global pandemic, what was your experience like before, during, now, like in terms of high school and college? So, Nicolle.
So the pandemic sort of hit when it was the middle of my junior year. So it was that spring break that took 2 years.
That chewy guata.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that colleges, all that work was over with, but then that huge 2-year gap, that my whole senior year was I don't want to say ruins because it still was an experience, but it was all virtual. That's actually how I got my internship, because I was at home the whole time. So I was just looking through emails, and then my school did send an email on this political campaign in Flushing. And because of the pandemic, everything, the outreach for that person running for candidacy in District 20, it had to all be virtual. You had to reach people virtually because canvassing wasn't that big. We still did that, but it wasn't so big. And I also didn't want to leave my house as well. So I was like, I was part of the social media team there. And that's what got me on Instagram more, I guess, designing things. And I was not leading the team whatsoever, which I was thankful for, because at that point, I didn't know anything. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing right now, it's because I saw other people doing it, and I'm inputting the things that I thought would look good too. And that's how, then coming here to Baruch afterwards, that's what I kept doing, also with the social media team here. But yeah, and college, I did start in person. In QCC, all my classes were in person, except one, but I was still in the college doing that class because it was sort of like in the middle of my 2 in-person classes. So that online class, I was doing it in the cafeteria. And here at Baruch during the spring, I wanted all my classes to be in person because I just didn't want that virtual experience again. And this semester too, everything's in person.
So you said your senior year was all virtual, so graduation was also virtual, and what about prom? Did you have a prom? Did you
Was
not
it virtual?
hold-
Zoom?
I mean, because I feel like for a lot of us, prom is like the highlight of our senior year in high school.
Yeah, I remember my sister, because we went to the same high school. We came here to Baruch too. I remember her prom, her dress and everything. And when it was my senior year, I didn't have any prom whatsoever. Like, it wasn't even an idea thrown. Like, let's have a Zoom call, nothing. There was just nothing. We were also going to have a senior trip to China, and that was also canceled for obvious reasons. Graduation, however, there was like a virtual aspect to it, which was, and it was just a website. It wasn't even a Zoom call, but they did have like a very limited option of people to go to an in-person graduation, which I guess was good because I got to see a lot of my friends. But it was like divided into 2 days, so if some of your friends went day 1, then.
Was your high school big?
I don't have an exact number, but
I don't think we expected you to have an exact number.
Yeah, I'm just like roughly like, was it big? Like, because 2 days is, it would be a large class, right?
It was mostly 2 days because everyone had to be so like distanced. It wasn't like, yeah, but it was a big class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, like, did that help your transition in terms of going, whether it was a small school or a large school, transitioning to Baruch where we had like almost 20,000 students on campus?
I feel like in terms of numbers, it didn't really affect me. I feel like I just liked having more people. But in terms of like the actual workload, it affected me because in high school, I feel like I complained about everything. So during high school, I would be like, oh, this is so much work. But then coming to college, I was like, oh, I wish I could do that work right now. But I think that's the only thing that really hit me in college. Not really like a lot of people. Like, I actually like that. Even though I'll be quiet in a corner, I do prefer having a lot of people in a room.
An introverted extrovert. I think that's what they call it. Yeah.
But she's coming more out of her shell.
Yes, you're the first guest on our podcast, so
Yes.
growth.
I mean, if you would have told me you were an introvert and didn't like any of the public speaking, I would not believe you.
Yeah.
What about you, Michelle? What was your experience like?
Oh man, so I had a unique experience. I started off here pre-pandemic and then was taking courses during the pandemic, and then right when the college was starting to reopen was my last semester, and so that was a unique experience to say the least. I don't think that was like on my college bingo card to take classes in my living room through Zoom, but it was an experience nonetheless, and I ended up, like I said, finding purpose in what I do now. But
What was the social aspect like? Pre,
during, and then
post? Yeah.
So pre-pandemic, I had a really active social life. I mean, I'm from Queens originally, so everything I've ever known is within a 10-mile radius. All the kids that I went to school with in kindergarten ended up being in like my graduating class in high school. So coming to Baruch was kind of like a going away experience for me. I was going to school in the city, and there were a lot of kids that I graduated with that still ended up living in Queens, which is fine. You know, that would have been my path too had I not been accepted into Baruch. But socially, that's when I felt like I was coming out of my shell a little bit. You know, I was doing things that I didn't think I'd ever do. In high school, I hated public speaking. I choked one time giving a presentation and vowed to never publicly speak again. And
here you are.
And here I am, yeah.
Hey,
So
here you are.
I started off, you know, getting involved in club life. I became a peer mentor for the SEED program, and I ended up becoming a tour guide for the college as well. And so growth.
All about growth.
It's all about growth. And I mean, college, like you said earlier, is about finding out what you like, what you don't like. I must have rebranded like 50 times when I was in college. So I say that to you now as a currently enrolled student, because you're gonna have those points in your academic career where you're like, I don't think this is a good fit. But that's the beauty about Baruch, is I feel like we're always known as the business school, but we're actually a liberal arts college. So it gives you a little bit more leeway in what you want to study. And so I was thankful for that experience, at least, because I was laser focused on being like the corporate girl, and now I'm not the corporate girl, but that's fine. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that I have from being a Baruch student.
And adding to that, I think it's being able to adjust and be flexible. And my point to both of you, being far off, removed, and graduated, being a 2-time alum of Baruch, both my undergrad and my master's degree, even, you know, that flexibility as an adult, that there are things that you might like one day and then you might want to completely change the next, or you want to start new ventures, or you want to, you know, grow and do different things, and just, you know, that flexibility and adaptability. I think that's one of the great things about Baruch, and I'm not, you know, trying to do a shameless plug here about the college, but like, you know, being able to adapt and learn from others, your peers, and, you know, the diversity of this school. It's just, you know, awakening in terms of the possibilities that you do, and, you know, just be mindful of that you don't have to be stuck in one lane. You can always grow and, you know, venture out to other things.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, I'm still learning, even though I've taken on a new role at Baruch. You know, I went from student to now a staff member. I'm still learning new things every day. I still get to work on projects and have fun with it. It feels very similar to me being in the classroom and working on a project that I really liked. So
yeah, but I think, like, when you're doing it in order to, you know, for the benefit of not only yourself but others, and you see the impact it does amongst, like, whether it's the students that we see on the road or people that come to the campus and then they have such a great experience, or they recognize, you know, some of the work that we do, I think that's definitely something that, you know, gives you that, what's the word, like, feeling inspired and, you know, that you're fulfilled. I keep remembering the story that you told me about our celebrity here, Teddy. So yeah, Teddy's a very big celebrity on campus and our social media channels. When you were downstairs taking pictures of him and Bernard Baruch, like, just students being like, oh my god, that's there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the little things that you're like, oh wow, like, people notice, and, like, you know, we think that our work is not as important, but it really does matter. So yeah, and I mean, going off of that, you're talking about social media, and just, you know, you two are part of this core group behind our Baruch Admissions social media handles, along with our other interns. So I know you told me that you are definitely interested in media in the future. So how has this experience within the social media team, and I know this has just been like a few months going along, but how has it been for you? What goes into that thought process of how you want to showcase the college to, you know, perspectives as well as current students, because current students still follow our page, and even people from the outside. And I mean, you handle our Instagram account with our other interns, and then we have two that do the TikTok, and, you know, our TikTok has been booming as well. So that recognition from outside people is, you know, like, I'm dumbfounded because I'm like, wow, people are noticing these things. So let me know about your experiences, because I want to know that you guys are liking the work.
Yeah.
Because if you guys didn't like it, then that would be an issue. But yeah.
I feel like we were talking about growth, and even though it has been since September, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
I remember when I first started, I was set to do a coverage of the live event for Hispanic Heritage Month, and then I was there like, oh wow, I signed up for this, but what do I do? Because I feel like I've been such a person of I need to be told instruction by instruction, which I guess is good to some people, but I feel like it was dragging me down because you told me to do something, but now I'm just standing there. Right? And after that event, I'm like, okay, I have to let loose more. I had to talk to people. I had to be like, oh, can I take a picture of you? Or can I record you for our Instagram? And they would look happy. So then that to me was like, oh, so they know our Instagram, right? Like they know our handles, they know what we're doing. So they're like, oh yeah, I want to post for that, right? And also just like going back to what I said, talking to them. I know high school me would be so scared. I wouldn't even want to approach them. But here I am, I'm like, okay, I have to do this for my job. I have to do this for myself. Like I need to be more out there. And this whole podcast as well, this is an idea that Michelle was talking about. And just to be part of this, it was a great experience overall for prospective students, since that was our outreach in the beginning. But seeing that here at Baruch, students know who Teddy is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
he's very popular.
that means that they follow us. That means that they know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, I think just from my own experience, having my own social media pages, and there was one point in time where I wanted to be an influencer too. This is what I'm saying. Like I've rebranded so much since starting at Baruch, and taking on the social media team alongside you has been probably one of the best experiences I've had, especially as a young woman, just fresh out of college, trying to start something, trying to have that impact on my community. So, even something, I know we keep talking about the bear, but even something as silly as those girls recognizing him, it made me realize like the work that I'm putting into it means something, right? And then also overseeing the team, which I'm very happy to say are all women, overseeing the team of, all of you and how much you've grown, especially you, Nicolle, has been very fulfilling. And it reminds me of when I was a peer mentor for the SEEK program, right? Seeing my cohort grow from very shy, fresh out of high school, to some very successful and polished young professionals. And so it's definitely been a learning curve, but I wouldn't have had this hadn't it been for my experience at Baruch and just Baruch in general. So yeah, it's been great.
I mean, I think in this whole idea, because we talk about these things and they're just random thoughts and ideas, and we're like, oh yeah, we should do this. And last year when thinking of our strategy for social media for this upcoming year and everything, and you just pitch the idea, you're like, what about if we do this? And I'm like, sure, but we need the help, because I had no idea what I was doing, because podcast is a whole new realm. And just seeing how people do it so flawlessly, but learning from others, how much work it goes into it, and you're like, oh man, what did I sign up for? But it's definitely, and even for me, like it's a lot of learning as well as a supervisor, and I've never been the type of person where like I want to tell you what to do. Like yes, there are prompts, but I want you to go with it. I want you to go with your gut and your instincts, and having that freedom to be creative, to put your voice out there. Obviously we always want to portray us in our office, especially because we've had so much, we've been out there and people notice us, within our office, but giving that voice to you all. And yeah, I was noticing the other day that our team is, this is the first year that we've had a team of all women, all women social media people. And I think, not to say that we don't welcome guys and anyone else that identifies differently, but it just came about, and I think it's very strong the way that we try to talk about our voices and the experiences, and we want to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So I know within future episodes we will have different clubs and athletics and different teams that are on campus just talking about their experiences as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all going to be fun and games, because there will be some topics that we'll cover that might be either sensitive or things that need to be addressed at the college, issues. So we want to, as I mentioned before, we want to be as real as possible.